Alright, hey, it's DoctorDead, your favorite horror man extraordinaire. And today we're doing an Ippo month. Basically, the rest of this damn month we'll be doing Ippo Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, then my thoughts on the current manga, which I'm not really fond of right now, so, you know. But we will see how that goes. But today we're going to be talking about the first season of Hajime no Ippo. First 76 episodes. Now, I know in the past I've made content all over the place, but this time we're going to focus on a lot more theme series going forward. For now, it's going to be Ippo, and if we can gloss over it, I will discuss other series I'll get into at the end of this month. So hopefully I can get that done every week or every other week, so we'll see how that goes. Despite my love for a lot of series like Blue Lock, Kuroko no Basket, Haikyuu, which is a lot of sports series. So we got, Blue Lock has football, aka soccer. Took the world by storm this year. You got Kuroko no Basket, which is no slam dunk, but it took the sports anime field by storm by giving you very exaggerated and overall push themes, in particular the zone in Kuroko no Basket. And then you got Haikyuu, which I've never seen, so I can't really give you information off that one. I've seen snippets and clips and stuff. That's not something I've seen yet. Hockey was more particularly about volleyball there. And no, you can't make it. I'm going to see it when I feel like saying it. Hajime no Ippo is a little different as it came at a very pivotal time in my life. And honestly, I just love boxing. And I mean, who wouldn't? The sweat, the hard work, and pretty much the violence. Either way, today we're going to discuss why I love Ippo so much. 2, why the first 76 episodes I love so dearly. What is boxing if you lived under a rock? And how Ippo deals with his true goal of being the strongest and what that truly means. And with that said, let's get started. So why do I love Hajime no Ippo so much? Well, being into fitness, this has literally been my life for, good lord, 20 years, 25 years close to it. This has basically been in my own family over the last 30 years, so. My old man actually used to bring me to the gym. We used to go to a lot of the boxing gyms growing up as well. We're talking as early as Gold's Gym at like 3 years old. Didn't really pique my interest until I was 14. I used to do row work daily. Missed my old punching bag. I used to hit the nearest punching bag at the closest YMCA. Once my best friend pretty much got into boxing himself, we pretty much just were back and forth sparring. At one point, we were training to fight one another just from how much we sparred together. The pain and the suffering, the triumph and the fights, plus a lot of training, is pretty much what got me into it. In particular, Makunochi Ippo. Ippo is a manga started on October 11th, 1989. The series has over 135 volumes at the time of this recording, so it's a lot of content. Not very common in my opinion during the 80s at the time, especially with series around the time during the era of what I call Buransan, Kuro no Ken, JoJo Bizarre Adventure, and Berserk. All very masculine, macho male characters, the Steven Seagals, the Jean-Claude Van Dammes, the Sylvester Stallone. So all that pretty much permeated into what you see, even like Rio from City Hunter, even Saint Seiya, despite very flamboyant majority of the male characters looked.
騒がしいお子様は放っておいて、二人っきりでアダルトな時間を楽しみましょう。
Anyway, Ippo gets beat up by some bullies due to smelling like fish, working on his mom's boat for a fishing company due to the death of his father as a child. Anyway, Ippo gets beat up by some bullies due to smelling like fish, working on his mom's boat in regards to her fishing company. She's doing this due to the death of his father. His father went missing on one of his own fishing trips. He's presumed dead as he was lost overseas. Takamura sees Ippo getting bullied and saves him from this. This makes Ippo very inspired and makes him want to become a boxer after seeing what Takamura is doing in the gym. And outside of it, Takamura takes very personal offense when he says he wants to take being a boxer seriously. He kind of writes him off as just some geek doesn't know what he's talking about. So then he makes him take a test, especially because boxing is a lot of hard work. Road work, dieting in the most extreme fashion due to weight management and constant competition. We're talking improving parrying, bobbing and weaving, strength training, mitt work, endurance training, and so much more that's put into that. I still think weight management and starving yourself to death, varying on what weight classes you're jumping from, is a lot harder. Moving up in weight is different, but dropping down in weight's a lot harder than you think. Takamura makes Ippo pick up and catch 10 leaves. This is a way to basically teach him how to jab. So he makes him catch 10 leaves and says, if you aren't able to do this, you don't even have the bare minimum qualifications. Alright, now seeing that being a boxer is not an easy job to do. Ippo sees a video of Tyson, even prior to that, becomes inspired, and honestly the rest is history. Now, my favorite moments of the first 76 episodes. Now, a couple of things I want to start, talking about is, since I love Ippo so much, I just broke it down to my favorite fights because there's way too many of my favorite moments throughout the series, especially the first 76. The first 76 episodes carries the majority of the fan base through to the manga and other parts of the story. Ippo versus Miyata parts 1 and 2. Ichiro Miyata is pretty much the character that inspired Ippo truly and further drives him to want to become a boxer. Him having a rival also further inspires and elevates him to further evolve as a boxer. These fights weren't really special to me because these are Ippo's first, true fights. And Coach unfortunately gives a lot of this type of bad advice. This is repeated a lot early on, and I love Coach Komagawa, but yeah, he's a horrible coach. Anyways, the second time around, Ippo as usual pulls through with his full grit, his fighting spirit, and it shows that Ippo's willing and determined even if he gets counterpunched hard in the face like this.
今度は一歩がダウンだ。ダメだよ、あのカウンターもらっちゃ。
Now, Ippo versus Date. Eiji Date, first of all, another very great boxer. He's one of the featherweight Japanese championship boxers. Now, first of all, Date is a retired boxer who lost to world-class boxer Ricardo Martinez, who actually just might be the series' true goal. I want it to be the true goal, but Eiji Date ends up retiring due to losing to Ricardo Martinez, and he becomes a family man. His wife, on the other hand, is not as receptive to him becoming a businessman, and she misses how much hunger and drive that he had as a boxer. So Date goes back into boxing. Prior to this, he's also watching a match with Sendo, which I'll go into detail about later. And he decided he needed to fight someone as strong as him to prep for his return against Ricardo Martinez. Anyway, Ippo versus Date, he ends up having a very good match, but he just wasn't ready to challenge the world or any opponent of that nature. First of all, Date should not have challenged Ippo to an infight, but he gets demolished by the corkscrew blow, which stops time. Despite defeating Ippo, he still gets crushed easily by Ricardo with his return to the world as he became stronger, sadly. Ricardo is a tough one to defeat. This fight taught Ippo how to deal with loss, but also moved him even further and elevated him to developing the Dempsey roll, a very powerful boxing technique that was developed by Jack Dempsey. I believe back in the 40s, don't quote me on that. 1940s. Date relinquished his belt, which in turn further elevates Ippo's story later on. Now, Ippo versus Vorg. I love Vorg's character, mostly because I can relate, but his endless sadness as a Russian and his over caretaking of his mother at the time, and also feeling chained down and not feeling he could be a true boxer due to his mother's illness. It's very depressing, but he's a very great boxer. And no, it's Alexander Volg Zangief. No, not that Zangief. Volg, clearly by his name, is a Russian. As I stated earlier, he grew up in Russia during the Soviet Union era. Despite being poor, was raised by his mother, who was very ill. Honestly, I really do love this fight. This is mainly because these are two opponents that come from a single family household, or a single mother, really. Literally their only son. And honestly, I really do love that similarity between them, because this is what keeps them growing as not only fighters, but as friends outside the ring. They have a bond together that not only do they each character cherishes Ippo and Volg, but they also show that later on what that means to each other. Now, what I love about this fight is not Ippo's use of the peekaboo style or Volg's use of outboxing, despite Ippo using it to push forward. It's his tenacity and Ippo's courage to fight an aggressive fighter, arguably more brutal than Sendo. I'm sorry, Volg is just way more brutal. His combinations and his special abilities are way more. One hit from those and you're pretty much either on the floor or you're getting it down. In particular, the White Fang, which is the ability I'm referring to, Volg pretty much gets that countered. Sadly, Ippo was praying for it, but if he took that at the time in their first fight, Ippo would have been knocked out. Despite the Gazelle Punch counter fail that Ippo tried to use against the White Fang, honestly, Volg could have won this one despite that. His actual White Fang did hit Ippo, he would have definitely won. It's actually one of the few fights Ippo has, I argue, it's not will or grit or technique, he won by luck. Ippo versus Sendo. Takeshi Sendo is actually also one of my favorite characters too. Sendo is a tiger, the Nanawa tiger. Similar to Mashiba and Takamura, he was a street fighter who moved on to boxing instead. Despite losing his parents at a very young age, this is a real reason he was considered by few as a gangster despite protecting others with a violent nature. Takamura doesn't take shit from nobody, that's why. Sendo was different than most boxers. He's hungry and he always wants a challenge. He couldn't wait to fight a man similar in style and a hard puncher like Ippo. Unfortunately, in their first bout, he did lose. He could not get these Super Famicons to these kids. It's really sad. Sendo really is the man of the people in this town. Truly a boxer for the people. Yeah, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about part 1, but part 2 of their fight is a little different. Now, Sendo actually beats Volg to get the JBC featherweight title belt, the same title belt that Eiji Date did have. After Ippo's comeback match using the Dempsey roll, against Sonshai Chuatina, probably pronouncing that wrong. Sendo announces he's ready for a rematch if he wants the belt to come and take it. This is one of those fights that the hype was always met. Ippo always starts out this fight in particular, jumping straight into the Dempsey roll, which he really does not do normally, but he came for blood. Ippo rarely comes for blood. He came in there winning that belt. So he started that fight with the Dempsey roll, which is unheard of in most of his matches because he's usually very defensive and comes off as the challenger. This match has 7 rounds. In the final round, Ippo smashes Sendo's guard with a gazelle punch after using a psyche to feint and a follow-up punch, which shows that he's also learning as a boxer from his previous bouts, but how seriously he took that. And that's not something he learned from coach, it's something he learned on his own. Ippo tends to get stronger learning things on his own, not listening to coach. And yes, he hits Sendo with that follow-up with one of my favorite heart-wrenching scenes. Yeah, and it still gives me goosebumps to this day. And that's definitely some of my favorite episodes or moments during the first 76 episodes of the series. Now, what is boxing, right? It's pretty simple. Boxing is a combat sport that puts 2 people together after endless training, sleepless nights, in some cases hunger, I like Takamura, and to test their utmost and highest abilities, their techniques, endurance, and practice using their strength to its highest potential, and use this day in and day out. So when you either knock out the other opponent or win by points, and each round is 3 minutes. And women's boxing actually is only 2 minutes, which I don't really watch female boxing or kickboxing. It's very interesting. Each boxer has a corner man who fixes their injuries if you have them, or gives them water, ice, any your eyelid above your eye pretty much. Any damage, your cornermans will help you with that. Any advice you need, your cornermans will help you with that. As far as the amateur fights, I might explain that in a future video. Now, what's Ippo's actual true goal? Honestly, he's strong and he wants to know what true strength is, even without spoiling. Ippo has over 1,406 chapters, literally over 1,406 chapters, and there might be more by the time this is released. Shoot, over 127 episodes overall. Well, since 1989, Ippo has been a thing. Now, how much longer and how much more in depth will Ippo need to find out what true strength is? I'll be honest with you guys, the reason why I'm not even answering that is because he doesn't know. He doesn't know yet. And this will be answered during the future videos I'm doing. Either way, diddy out to the next Ippo video. Ciao.